Hey everyone, how's it going? Titanfall 2. Here is a game that took me completely by surprise. I was not expecting this game to be anywhere near as good as it turned out to be, and for me to enjoy it anywhere near as much as I did playing this game. Now, I played it early at E3 2016, and you guys know I was very underwhelmed. With my impressions of the game, I sort of called it a Titanfall 1 expansion. It really just felt very similar to the first game, like they didn't change anything, they just added a couple new things, and maybe added slightly sharper controls and whatnot here. And I was very underwhelmed. I was not impressed with what they offered, and I made that very clear in my impression video for E3 2016. But playing the full game here, I have to say that I wasn't just surprised here. I was downright impressed with how much effort and just how well the game turned out to be. And it's a bit of a shame because this makes me angry that the game more or less got shafted by EA, releasing it between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare with pretty much no room to breathe. The game got completely squashed. And it was actually recently revealed that EA said that, yeah, the game did not actually sell to their expectations. Well, if the Dunfucks realized that if they released the game a week before Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and a week after Battlefield 1, two of the biggest first-person franchises in gaming, the game's gonna get fucking squashed. I mean, this isn't just rocket science, but I don't know what goes on in the brain of these business executives with these marketing degrees. I just don't understand it at all. It just makes no sense to me. But maybe they see something that I don't. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about the campaign because that is all I really care about, to be honest. I did try multiplayer, and it's Titanfall multiplayer. It's fun, but, I've been there, done that. It's more or less Titanfall 1 with a heavy increase in customization and maps and, different variability and stuff like that. They didn't really change much stuff up in that category. Just added a bunch of new things to make it, give it more longevity, more or less. With the campaign, however, this is a completely new addition, and we didn't have really a campaign in the first Titanfall, which was a shame because it was a game that almost felt perfectly for the campaign with its unique world design and its very interesting lore, and they kept referring back to this universe throughout that multiplayer campaign or whatever you want to call it in the original Titanfall. With Titanfall 2, however, we get a full-fledged cinematic single-player campaign, and I sat there and I played it for around 5 hours. EA Origin tracks and says it was 5 hours long for me to actually complete this campaign, which, isn't terribly long, and it's unfortunate, but what matters here is that the 5 hours of the campaign that I did play, I really, really enjoyed, and it actually left me just wanting more. You see, this game, the way that this campaign was made is it basically took all these epic moments from, like imagine all the great scenes from like Call of Duty 4 and like mix it in with some of the great fantastic level design from like Dishonored, for instance. It really just felt like that. It felt like a return to form for the open world genre. And what I've been saying this for a long time, that when it comes to the first person shooters, we've lost a lot of that type of world design, where a lot of the old classic FPSs, what made them great was this open level design. Not necessarily that you had an open world to explore, but that the levels were huge, vast. If you look at the first Crysis, for example, that game's not really open world, right? It's just humongous levels that give you that same feeling, that allow you to say, all right, I want to attack from the rear. I want to attack from the side up on the hill. I want to, sneak in underground and appear up in the middle of the base and start flanking them from that point. Or I just want to attack straight on like a standard game. You have these options, and this is what Titanfall 2 gives you in its campaign. Options. And this is what really surprised me, because you'll look at these levels and they're long and they're vast and they're really big, and more importantly that they have actual multiple routes to get to your objective. This open level design is what gives it the variety that it so desperately needed, and it's what really helps bring this campaign to stand above, other single player campaigns in this genre. In fact, I have to say that I enjoyed the Titanfall 2 campaign more than I enjoyed the great Battlefield 1 campaign, and more than I enjoyed the really fun Call of Duty Infinite Warfare campaign. And I liked both of those games' campaigns. I thought that all the FPSs this year did great jobs with their single player campaign. I really did. And I really feel that Titanfall 2 is the best out of all of them. It has these excellent moments, these great set pieces, and the game really does do a good job at bringing some character into its story. I was saying that the reveal trailer for this game, it was crap. Like, if you looked at all the commercials, it didn't look like they were really taking the campaign seriously. It felt that they were just throwing it in there to appease us, and that they were not going to use the potential, which was to create an emotional relationship between your character and your mech, your Titan, right? I was like, oh, they can create like good potential with this story, right? And then you see the commercials, and it doesn't seem that way. It seems like they're just, oh, it's all fun, you can fly on walls and do all this shit, rather than a hardcore cinematic, story trailer that they should have shown, in my opinion. And the cool thing is that they actually tried to go with that, and in many times they actually succeeded in creating an emotional bond. Maybe not so emotional to the point where, it's going to be on a comparable level with, some of the best games with their characterization, but it's still a connection that you feel with your Titan, and when something happens to him, you're like, oh shit, that's my freaking Titan. Don't destroy my Titan. Don't touch my Titan. And you guys look after one another. And you feel this sense of protection for what's yours. And it's vice versa with the Titan and your character. They really did actually try and create this bond between the two. And in my opinion, for the most part, they succeeded. Because the game is short, they may not have the opportunity, they may have missed the opportunity, rather, to create an actual true emotional connection where you actually care for it like a real person. But you still care for it as if it's a possession, and as if you worked hard for it, and as if you needed it, and it really matters to you, and it has somewhat of a sentimental value. You still care for the Titan in that sense. And I'm so happy that the writing was good enough to be able to create that connection. And when you look at the levels here, it's some of the most gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous levels I've ever seen in the genre. The first level, you're on this like tropical island, and it reminds you of Avatar. Like, it seriously feels like you're playing a first-person shooter set in the Avatar world, James Cameron's Avatar world, where you have these just high mountains and peaks and stuff, and you can actually traverse on all this terrain. You're like, look at this, you're like, holy shit, some of these levels are so beautiful to look at, and you're fighting through these, and it doesn't help, it helps as well, that the graphics are also fantastic here. I mean, this is a huge issue I had with the original, or with Titanfall 2, for example, when I played it at E3. One of the big things I said was, I played it, and it felt the same, right? And what I can say in terms of the gameplay here is that although it feels familiar, it feels a lot tighter and at times a lot more responsive. Everything just feels a lot more clean and polished and tighter. So it somewhat feels a little bit more refined, right? It's still the meat of the Titanfall, 1 gameplay elements, but it's all been refined, so it somewhat feels reworked. Another issue I had was the visuals. I played it at E3. They had the PlayStation 4 demo set up for the game, and I played it, and I thought the game looked hideous. It wasn't full HD. It looked blurry as hell. It didn't help that it was also being played on a 16:9 curved Samsung monitor that was 1080p and that was not calibrated. And I was very underwhelmed with the visuals. I thought the game looked like crap, to be quite honest with you. I played this on PC. I'm not kidding you. This is one of the best PC optimized titles and a really good looking game to boot. The game looks sharp, the lighting effects look really, really bright, and really, really add depth and character to this world. The way that the levels are designed are very extremely open and are vast, and they have a lot of scenery to them. I mean, I'm playing this game with max settings, right? Maximum settings. Everything's turned up the highest it can go. Insane textures because I got that 8 GB GTX 1080 in my system. The game looks gorgeous, right? But here's the best part, and it's the way it performs. And keep in mind that with the graphics, I was also using 4 times MSAA. 4 times MSAA at 1440p, maximum settings, everything can go, okay? And I was not kidding you, I was getting over 110 frames per second on average at 1440p. There are moments, and this lasted for periods of 30 seconds or longer in some instances. There are moments where the game will completely lock itself at my monitor's native 144 Hz refresh rate. And so I'm playing this game with maximum settings, with 4 times MSAA included with anti-aliasing, and at my monitor's native refresh rate and resolution, 1440p at 144 frames per second. I want, like try to get that through your skull here, like, it's an incredibly optimized game. It looks good, it runs well, and I'm playing a modern AAA shooter at 144 frames per second with 4 times MSAA. That is an incredibly well optimized game, and it really shows that a lot of games with subpar graphics, for example Mafia 3, yeah, I know it's open world here, but it really has no excuse. You know, when Titanfall 2, with all these explosions going on, with 4 times MSAA, with great visuals, with large open levels, I mean, and the game's running at 110, 120 frames per second on average on my system. You know, and it's a shame that you have these other games that, you know, like Mafia 3, for example, really good game, but graphically mediocre, and it runs at like 60, 70 frames per second, fluctuates between there. It's no comparison with temporal anti-aliasing. There's no comparison. It really just shows the type of effort that can be made, and when you put effort on your PC game, that's the type of performance and the excellent quality level that you can get here. It is fantastic. I absolutely love the optimization for this game. I'm glad I played it on PC too. And I know that the game has a dynamic resolution set in place on PS4 here, but really the graphical presentation here on PC at least was fantastic. And playing it again at times at 144 frames per second was a godsend. It was so utterly clear, like you couldn't believe your eyes. It was amazing experience here. So when it really comes down to it, I really feel that Titanfall 2 had the best campaign out of Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Unfortunately, it sold the worst out of the two because it's a new IP, let's be honest. And the game, when it came out initially, when Titanfall 1 came out initially, it got a lot of shit, you know, for releasing a game with bare bones content. And they added in all this stuff later. They had a season pass that you could pre-order before it was even announced what content was in it. There was no campaign. Titanfall 1 got a lot of shit, and it deserved a lot of the shit that it got. It was a good game when it came to multiplayer gaming, but it just completely released with bare bones content, and for $60 you really deserved a lot more. Titanfall 2, I'm proud to say, is more than an expansion here. It is everything that was wrong with the first game has been corrected for this game. You get a great single player campaign, you get great visuals that's very well optimized on PC. You get lots of customization and lots of more maps, and all the maps and stuff will be free. They're actually not going to be charging you for DLC and stuff. So again, that adds a lot of stuff to the longevity of the game. And it's everything that you basically didn't like with the first game. They've basically corrected it with this game, and it's a really fantastic ride, I have to say. For Titanfall 3, what I would really want to see is a longer single player campaign. I want to see more of an emphasis on stealth and parkour, because I really think the two here, you could do stealth in this game, but it was barely working, right? This is mostly an action oriented game, and I would really like to see them try and tackle stealth in this single player campaign for Titanfall 3. That could actually add a lot of playability time when it comes to the campaign, because more people taking their time and whatnot, and I think it could really help the game out. So I really would like to see them add that, and we'll go on from there, right? Thank you guys for watching this video. I really enjoyed this game. I'm really surprised that I did. It's definitely worth experiencing, and the game's also dirt cheap. I think right now the game's like 60% off or something like that. Get this freaking game. Honestly, you will not be disappointed, at least for the single-player campaign. It's only 5 hours long, but it's a very enjoyable, one of the best 5-hour single-player campaigns that you'll experience in recent memory, honestly. So I'll talk with you guys later. Let me know what you think of the campaign if you played it, or the game if you played it, and we'll go on from there. Thanks, guys.